Hi, I'm Steve Rosales, and welcome to this edition of Belmont Journal. Today, chat with the chair. Our final edition with this chair, I think. It's Monday. It is April 3rd, 2023, and it's the day before Election Day. And with me today is, at least for today, the current chairman, Mark Paolillo. He's been so brave and courageous to come on and face the brutal questioning I give him on these chat with the chairs. But I'm glad to have him here, Mark. Nice to
be
see
here
you.
again, Steve, as always.
Day before Election Day, you're not on the ballot, so
I am not
but
on
it's
the
still
ballot.
usually still sort of the tingle.
Yeah.
It's the
I
anticipation
love
and the
Election
tingle.
Day, don't you?
It is. It's an adrenaline-filling
Yeah,
thing.
absolutely.
So we do have
Pure democracy.
We do
Democracy
have
is best.
an election tomorrow.
Yeah.
Welcome to come on down. So there is an election tomorrow. We have some school committee race. We have a bunch of uncontested, but the two big hot issues I would think would be the two questions, questions 1 and 2, dealing with the rink debt exclusion and, of course, the elected versus appointed treasurer.
Right.
So, you know, it is the day before Election Day. This show probably won't be on until after Election Day, but what are your thoughts, and do you have any predictions? We'll see. Hopefully they're better than my predictions of the Final Four, because I took a beating there.
Yeah, we all did. Well, I mean, I think that, I hope, but I do believe that both questions will be successful. I think on the rink question, as you know, Steve, you covered it. We lost by the vote. It was a no vote by 314 votes, I think, ultimately was the final.
I think by the time
count,
all the mail-ins, everything got in, yeah.
Pretty tight vote, and I think for reasons, I'm not going to go into as to why it was defeated. I think on a prior show we talked about that. I think the way they're reorganized, the fact that the cost of the rink has come down dramatically by $5 million, and I think the campaign and getting the message out on the rink, and the fact that the rink has failed in the early part of the season will result in a successful vote tomorrow. Let's hope. I mean, I think if it doesn't, then we're really in a lot of trouble, and likely we won't have a rink in Belmont. The treasurer's vote, hard to handicap. I think it will be successful as well. Town meeting, as you know, overwhelmingly passed that, that article. I think people in town are supportive of an appointed treasurer. I mean, our current treasurer, Floyd Carmen, had a coffee this morning. I thanked him for his service. I mean, he served 18 years. It's just phenomenal. So I think that folks will understand that it's time to sort of change the way we govern ourselves. Some may not, and I think that will be successful as well. But I certainly do want to thank Floyd for his service over the years, and I'm sure you feel the same way as well. And ironically, we were joking this morning, if you remember this, Steve, I'm sure you do, when he first ran 18 years ago, there was a ballot question in 2005, and the ballot question was the similar ballot question as to tomorrow's question too, and that is appointed versus elected, and it went down. And he was elected treasurer, and he's served us remarkably well over the past 18 years. So my prediction is both votes will be successful. At least I'm crossing my fingers that they will be.
Well, there you go. Well,
Yeah.
by the time this airs, we will know.
We'll know.
And
I'll be there with you tomorrow night. I'm counting the votes.
I see a lot of activity. I see, signs don't vote, of course, but I see organized efforts for the yes vote for the rink and the yes vote for the appointed treasurer. And I don't observe any active, visible no groups for either of those. That doesn't mean they don't exist somewhere or are not underground or social media and things of that sort, but I hope that's an indicative thing.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think folks, on the treasurer matter, I think folks in town, I mean, I've talked to some of them, believe that we don't need to change. We've been governed in the same way since 1859 and believe that change is not good, and checks and balances and all the things that we've discussed in the public forums. And so I think you will see a fair amount of no vote there. I think there'll be more yes than no. And I think on the rink, I think a lot of folks, perhaps not rink proponents, will vote no, simply because they don't believe that it serves a broader community. I think it can and will. A new rink will do that. And I think folks are really feeling the effects of the increasing tax burden. I appreciate that and understand that point of view as well. So I think there will be no votes on each. Let's hope that more yes than no.
All right. Well, time will tell.
Yeah.
And we'll have you back, and we'll review our predictions.
We'll review our predictions.
We'll
right.
see how that works.
Hopefully they're better than
I'm predicting
Big
nothing.
Four.
I'm going to go vote. Whatever it is, vote. Tomorrow's voting day, so get out there, and it's supposed to be nice, and
hopefully they're better predictions than the
make your voice heard.
than the NCAA.
All right. So you're currently the chair, at least for today.
Yes.
This is your second or third stint as chair. This is your second sort of stint
My
as.
fourth term, I've served as chair in each term. I believe I had to go back.
This is the fourth time as chair?
Fourth time. At some point we got into a rotation mode. So every 3 years that I served my fourth term here, I did serve as chair. I can't remember. I came on in 2010, if you recall. Ralph Jones was the chair for 2 years. I may have stepped in that last year, Steve. I don't remember, but I think I served as chair in each of my terms. And we got to a point, I think in my second term, where it just felt it was important to rotate. I mean, everyone that's on the board has constituencies. And unlike in the past, and I'm not criticizing how boards were organized historically, I think we reached a point where, look, everyone has supporters if there was a contested race or not. And so therefore that individual, whomever that might be, should serve as chair for at least 1 year. And I think we started to rotate it, if I recall, in my second term on the board. I served 3 consecutive terms. I stepped away for 2 and came back. So I think this is my fourth time as chair.
There you go. Well, is there a difference? I mean, you said 210, so that's a lifetime in technology years, that's for sure. So
That's a long time.
I mean, I was in the mid '90s and we had cable. Yeah. That was like the big thing because we didn't even have cable for a long time here in Belmont.
Yeah, I remember going
special
through
legislation.
Yeah.
They were scintillating.
No, they were exciting, and I think more people showed up in person versus
we didn't
today.
even have cable.
We didn't have cable.
Didn't have hybrid. Didn't have Instagram. Didn't
Right.
have this. Didn't have that. Didn't have social media.
Yeah.
So has the chairman time changed over the years, or how would you compare it? Can you compare different chairmanships that you've held
the issues,
and the current year, which is, hasn't been sleepy to say the least?
No, it's been a really active year, of course. In local politics, I know you'll appreciate this, having served as well on the board. The issues do come around. It's the same issues. It's the budget. It's our roads. It's our sidewalks. It's other matters in town. It's capital investment. Other issues with citizens, appointing committees. I think what's changed, at least for me, is, and I did leave, in 2019, thinking that, I believe in term limits, and did come back for reasons. When Tom Caputo decided to step away, I think I've learned as chair. Hopefully, I'm a little bit more patient. Maybe that's just mellowing in age. My wife would probably say no, but I think my temperament has changed. But I also feel as though, as serving as chair and serving on the board, I've understood more completely how to govern more effectively, meaning that how to negotiate on positions, work with my colleagues on the board, work with other elected bodies in town, and try to reach the right answer for the community. Different than earlier. And I think in my first years on the board, I took things personally, and I think in politics you can't do that. And I think this term, at least, I've said, look, it's not a personal thing. People just disagree, and even though I disagree with them in terms of their point of view, you can't take it personally. And I think this past 3 years, and going into my third now, I've been a little bit more relaxed about that and understand that it's just politics. And hopefully we've had an effective year, as chair. I've had an effective year as chair.
So, well, that's a good segue here. So, as I said, it hasn't been a sleepy year. It's been an active year.
Very
all
active
kinds
year.
of things.
Right.
Always something going on every time you turn on the tube.
Yeah.
There's always something going on.
Right.
So, this past year, your greatest success? Success of the board? I mean, you were the chair, so it's not.
Yeah.
It's somewhat it's you, but it is sort of a collective. But what do you think has been
I think
maybe
it's
some
more
of the
than just
better
one-
accomplishments
I think
this year?
Yeah, more than one thing, Steve. So first and foremost, I think it was great that the library finally got a yes vote in moving forward. The board supported it, put it on the ballot in November. We did what we could to support it publicly as well. So I think that's an accomplishment for the community. Clearly, the Board of Library Trustees and the Building Committee had a lot to do with that, of course, and they should get all the credit. And of course, the campaign that ran a successful campaign. Even though the rink was defeated in November, we got to a point where we finally took a vote on funding the new rink and working up to that point. And I was on the rink financing committee, and then we formed the temporary rink building committee, and then we formed the formal building committee. So I think getting that to a vote in the fall was, I look as an accomplishment of the board. And I was actively involved and led that effort, even though it was defeated in November. It's coming back tomorrow. We'll see what happens. And then finally, I think our work around the budget process, I mean, as you know, we engaged the Collins Center, and they had 19 recommendations. One of the more important ones, besides the treasurer issue and how we organize around governing, was the budget process. And I think that we were very effective, all of us collectively, not only the members of the board, but also town administration, and putting together a very formal, robust, comprehensive budget process. We have Jennifer Hewitt, who is now our Assistant Town Administrator, Finance Director, who's been with us now about a year. And I think the way we approached the budget summits and the way we prepared for them created a more robust process. And hopefully the residents understand that and feel as though they've been more informed than they have historically have been. Knowing full well, it's been a very contentious year on the budget, from a budget perspective. Clearly there's gaps, particularly in the school budget, and so there's been a lot of contentiousness around that. But I'd say that that's been an accomplishment of the select board and town administration in terms of putting together that budget process, which will now continue.
Well, there you go. So is there anything still left undone that you wished you could have got done this year, aside from, obviously, the November vote on the rink? We'll know more about that tomorrow, but...
Yeah, that's a great question, Steve. I think that, and we're actually meeting with the chair of the the Comprehensive Capital Budget Committee tonight, Chris Doyle. I don't think that we have organized ourselves as effectively as we can around capital investment, and I think this committee hopefully will get us there. I continue to feel, since even 2010, that our investment in our infrastructure has not been at the level that it needed to be. We just haven't had the money, apparently. We have built new buildings, of course, built a brand new middle and high school, $300 million building there. We're going to build a new library starting next year, hopefully a rink this year as well. But I think in terms of our approach and organization around capital investment, we've had so many iterations of this in terms of approach. I've always felt that we don't have a deliberate and organized approach to how we invest in our infrastructure. What should our spend be every year? And I know former chairs of the Capital Budget Committee, and particularly Marie Mahoney, would say, we don't spend enough, and I agree with that. You look at our roads and sidewalks, I mean, you go down certain streets, I mean, I know we're just coming off the winter months, and they're in disrepair. It's embarrassing. So I think that's always been a regret of mine, that we haven't been as effective as we can be around capital investment.
Well, you say it's okay, and I don't want to stir the pot, but
No,
I
you
will a
can
little
if you
bit.
want.
But
Yeah.
but some people would say, you mentioned that we just don't have the money to put maintenance of I assume that's what you're meaning. Upkeep
Part
of
of it,
our buildings,
without
upkeep
question,
of our
yeah.
infrastructure.
We have a new facilities director. who's done
Like you
great
do,
work for us.
you
Yeah.
got to fix the roof when the roof
Yeah.
is done. It's like we do our own homes, or hopefully do our own homes.
Yeah.
There's a boatload of money in the town that the town brings in. 100, and I don't know what it is now. When I was on the board, it was probably 75
Yeah,
million.
it's about $150 million.
It's about $150 million. So some would argue that it's not a question of lack of funds, it's a question of not allocating them that way, that you could allocate them. And it's a difficult decision as to what's to cut. Probably the hardest thing that I had to do is to say no. But is there any merit or truth to that argument, that we could maintain our buildings by just allocating more funds? Of course, that's like a balloon. Something else has to go. But
I think our new facilities director has focused on that, and we're doing a better job of that. The way Arlington has done it historically, and you've heard us talk about a potential override next spring, they have formed, we haven't done this either, we need to do this, a compact with the community. And that would mean that if you support this override, then our expense spending will be at this level, no more, and our investment in our capital will be at this level. And we haven't done that. And I think we're good about the way we've approached the budget this year has been more deliberate and more formal. But we haven't really sort of committed to a certain level of spend, a certain level of capital investment, because you're right, the dollars are not unlimited, and it's always a challenge to ask our residents to vote for a tax override. They're feeling the burden of the middle and high school. We need one next year, in my mind. But we haven't made that sort of compact, if you will. I want to call it a compact. It's not a written contract, of course, but a commitment to the community in terms of how we will manage our expenditures, some of which are difficult to manage, and how we manage our infrastructure spend. And I've been serving since 2010. We just have never gotten our feet underneath us in terms of the approach we should take around our budgeting process. And, you know, I guess, is it a regret? Yeah, it's a regret that we haven't created a formal approach to how we do this. And
Well, we won't call it a regret. We'll just say, you know,
it's
that they've run out of time. The clock is unfinished business.
Yeah, it's not a regret. It's unfinished business, Steve. And, you know, I think the residents would appreciate and respect if we said, look, Proposition 2.5, we agree with that. We understand that we're not supposed to raise taxes beyond 2.5% every year, plus new growth, so 3%. We'll see what state aid is as well. But every third or fourth year, we're going to need a small override. We just have never gotten to that point. So I think that's unfinished business. I don't know whether we can get there over the next year or so, but to me, it's always been trying to get to that organized approach of every third or fourth year asking our residents to support an additional tax increase because our expenses are always going to go up more than 2.5%, 3%. So it's unfinished business.
Okay. Well, you know, as a taxpayer, and I've advocated in the past, so, you know, it's interesting. You call it a compact. I guess I guess that's a good enough word, a pledge or a commitment.
That's right.
That has to be trustworthy. There's a lot of credibility has to be put in
That's
there.
right.
And faith in the residents that, you know, if we raise your taxes by X, we're seeking X number of dollars. For instance, again, just my thought process. We want $8 million. How much? I'm going to pick a number. What's a reasonable number? We need $5 million. So if we get $5 million, and if you residents give us $5 million, this is what we're going to do with the $5 million. We're going to fix $1 million to the streets. I think that would. But then you have to follow up, even if you're not legally, and then we'll put, you know, $1.5 million to the schools, and we'll put something else to maintain our buildings, capital infrastructure,
Yeah.
and tell people what you're going to spend the money on. Because, you know, I know you don't control the school budget, but at least to this person, and many of us out there, you give the school committee or school department money, they can do whatever they want to do with it, and the people have no say as to where it goes. That bothers me. It bothers a lot of people. But, you know, if you say that's what we're going to do with it, even though you can probably in later years change it and allocate it somewhere else legally, maybe it's the moral compass that just has to be done and a compact with the voters.
I think
and then see if then people know what they're buying. People, I don't like to just throw money into. Where's it going to go?
It's an interesting dynamic, Steve. Debt exclusions have historically always been supported. You know that.
Well, it's a mortgage and it goes away.
Because, well, it goes away after 30 years, right? 20 or 30
but it's a
years.
mortgage and you know what you're buying.
Exactly the point. And I think that's the point you're making and the point that I just
It is the point
made.
I'm making, maybe not inartfully.
No,
but,
no, it's the compact that you make about, and Arlington has been successful in doing this. This is, if we ask you for a 4 or 5 or whatever it might be, $6 million override, let's say.
I just made up the number.
Yeah, I don't know what the number is next year. We have a pretty significant deficit that we're projecting at this point. This is what we're going to spend the money on, and we spend the money on that. And I think that builds trust within the community. When people vote for a debt exclusion, they say, okay, we supported the debt exclusion for the library, you're going to build the library. Hopefully they supported debt exclusion for the rink, you're going to build the rink. And you're going to build it that is comports with what the building committee has said the rink's going to look like, and the middle and high school building. And they look at it, it's tangible, and they say, okay, this is where my tax dollars have gone. So I trust that. But on an override, what you find, and what I have found, and we've had only one successful one since I've been on the board, people question, well, if we give you 4.5, and you remember it's $4.5 million in 2015, what are you going to spend it on? I think we stuck to the sort of to what we committed to, more or less. But there is this obscurity sometimes around the money that additional tax receipts that come into our budget in terms of where that goes. I hope that we can work with the school committee, and I think we can, the select board, over the next year, if in fact we feel strongly that there should be an override in the ballot, and we haven't quite gotten to that point. We've been talking about that. And this is what we're going to spend money on. And if you support this. We're going to commit to spend it on this. And as you say, and I agree with you, follow up to say we did in fact spend the money on that.
Just put it, make a line item, put it in the budget.
That's right.
Say we were increasing the budget from this to that.
Yeah. Steve, I think what most
I mean, it's
residents...
just, here's what we spent,
Right.
give us more money, now we're going to spend this much.
I think most taxpayers and residents in our community, and it's not being a simpleton, I think they're busy. I mean, they're raising the family like you and I did. Both parents are likely working, right? Trying to get their kids off to schools. Maybe they're doing sports on Saturdays. And, you know, the information's there, the budget's on, but they don't have the time to be as fully informed as they want to be. And so straightforward, simple, direct messaging, ongoing, simple, straightforward messaging to the taxpayers and the residents of our community is so important. We've tried to do that, and I think we've improved on that. It's not being a simpleton. It's just like, here's the message. We're going to have a $5 million, right.
It's a
this is
simple
what we're going to
message.
spend the money on, and we're going to come back to you and tell you that's what we
show
spent the
you.
money on. Yeah, right. Agreed. That's the only way we're going to get support next year for an override. I feel very strongly about this. I'm going to work with my colleagues on the board and hopefully members of the school committee and others to sort of develop that approach and messaging within the community and listen to all residents about their concerns, if possible.
Well, there you go. Well, time will tell. We'll see how
Time
it
will
goes.
tell. Absolutely.
But again, that was just an aside of mine because that's, to me, how you market it.
That's right. I think that's right, Steve. I do agree with you, absolutely.
So, well, maybe your colleagues will agree, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm
It has
looking
go
forward to
through many
serving with
places,
Elizabeth
but,
Dion and continuing to serve with Roy, of course.
So, and you're going to continue to do, you expect hybrid? I don't know what the legislature governor just did. Did they extend that stuff, or are we going to all be back to public?
To 2025. I don't know how that's going to impact town meeting. I'm looking forward to being in person. It's been great to be together again physically, and we'll continue hybrid, absolutely. In fact, with the hybrid, we have a lot of folks, believe it or not, that dial into Zoom, and we recognize when hands are raised at times. And I think a lot of folks watch on cable as well. So we'll continue with the hybrid. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Yeah, I
It's
always
been
like
extended.
the,
I think it's 2025.
I think something I heard yesterday.
Yeah, I know.
Coming
Right.
out.
I'm not certain how it's going to impact town meeting. I hope that we still meet live, though. We'll see. It's up to the
Well, I
moderator.
think we're live, right?
Well, yeah, it's up
we're
to,
good. We had all
it's up
the
to Mike
dates.
Widmer to the side, but right now it's scheduled to be live.
Yeah, good. Well, you know, I hope so.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, well, that should be fun. At least you see how many people are in line. Before somebody
as a panelist, I do see that.
Oh, I don't see that.
No, you don't see that, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's half the problem. We don't see body language. It is comfortable sitting in my bar lounge eating some popcorn.
But I think Ellen, our town clerk, does a good job of saying, Mr. Moderator, we have now 15 people in line. Now it's 16 people in line. And
Well, sometimes
see all
it's not
hands
just the
raised.
people, it's who's in line.
No, I think meeting in person, and it's great. I love town meeting because it's democracy at its purest, as you know, and you get to see colleagues and friends and people you haven't seen for quite some time, and it's fun. I mean, it's fun. It can get contentious. It's fine, but I really enjoy town meeting. I really do. I look forward to it.
And we'll see how it is.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's I don't know, coming up, what, May?
Yeah,
So it's
May
in a
and
few
June.
weeks.
Yeah, right.
So, all right. So, we don't have the paper anymore, at least the local paper. We used to have two. When I was a kid, we had two papers, and then was one paper. Now we have no paper.
I know, that's unfortunate.
It's a sad thing.
Yeah.
I guess it's now, I don't know how you get the word out. It's social media, but not everybody has social media. But that has its pros and its cons.
Yeah, it does.
So does the loss of the paper and the rise of, I guess, social media postings bother you? Is that a positive, negative? What are your thoughts
it's a
as
negative.
to
I think
consequences of that? Maybe
Well,
that's
I think
the
it's a
right
negative, Steve. I think the information flow isn't as there as it once was. I think I used to love reading the letters to the editor and the opinion pieces and so what's going on in town. I do go to Belmont Wicket Local, and I also go to the Belmontonian, but I think the information flow is not quite there, and I think what you find at times in social media is just biased points of view. I mean, newspapers are unbiased, right? I mean, that's what they're there for.
No, okay.
Well, I mean, mostly, I think our
In theory.
Citizen Herald was. I mean, and I think the Belmontonian is as well. I mean, that's my opinion. It depends on the paper, of course, but I think that the information flow is not quite there. That's why I like doing this chat with the chair. And yeah, I think it's a negative. I do. And I don't really look at social media much, if at all. I mean, people share with me points of view. I do read every single email I get, believe it or not. I don't respond to every email. I'd like to be able to do that. I just don't have as much time as I would like.
How about just a thank you?
Well, I do thank them.
And thanks for your comment. Thank you.
Yeah,
It's public record, though, right?
Yeah,
So,
it's public record. We do thank them. We have a standard reply, but I absolutely read. I think my colleagues are the same. I read every single email I get. We get a lot of them, and so I want the folks to know at home that are watching that we are listening. We may not always respond.
well, there you go. And you can, you're online. You're on the webcast.
That's right.
Or at least on the web. That's what I'm saying.
right,
The
yeah.
emails are public.
They are.
You know, what's it? Selectmen@belmont.gov, maybe, or
Yeah,
whatever
and
it
I
is.
sometimes get individual ones because my email address is online, and I also have I think I'm the only my board member that has their cell phone there. I don't get a lot of calls. I have both my office phone and my cell phone. I get very little calls there. I do get once in a while, hi Mark, this is so and so, but a lot of them come to the select board mailbox.
Well, there you go. Well, so we got some pressing issues going forward. We got, I don't know, a minute and a half left
Yeah.
or thereabouts. So before we go into that, because that'll take a whole bunch of time.
Yeah,
so,
sure it will.
okay, as you draw to the conclusion, at least of this particular term on the board and as the current chairman, what kind of a message you got for the Belmont community and the Belmont people? Hopefully positive. It's been a divisive, you turn on the news, everything is divisive. It's divisive, social media is divisive. People are screaming and yelling. There's all kinds of activity and
Yeah, we've felt the same way, Steve. We have felt the effects of that. I mean, I think that particularly this year, over the last couple of years, my message to the community is that it's okay to disagree with one another, right? That's democracy. You and I disagree at times. We're close friends. But we have to be respectful. And we can work together on issues and find out reach compromise and find out what's best for the community. You shouldn't dislike someone because they have a different point of view. So my positive message is that we can accomplish a lot together if we learn to work together, collaborate, and respect one another. I hope that folks take that to heart. They might get angry with us. I'm okay with that. I mean, as I said earlier, I don't take things personally anymore when I get criticized for how, and I learn from it. So my message to the community is that we have a really very activist community. We have a lot of very smart people in town serving on our committees and folks that parents of school-age children in town. That we have a lot that we can do together. So let's work together to try to solve the problems of our community.
well, there you go. Those are positive things. It's like my ice cream analogy. That's why they make chocolate and vanilla.
That's right.
Different points of view. But on that soft serve machine, the one in the middle swirls them both together, and the ice cream is just as sweet.
You can
So
only accomplish
hopefully,
something together.
That'll
Steve.
work.
You can only accomplish. You can be more effective and accomplish more together rather than apart. I mean, I'm sure you when you served, you felt the same way. That if we come together, even though we may be divided on issues, and find a middle ground, if it's possible, and move forward in that way, we can accomplish a lot in our town, and hopefully we can over
All
this
right.
year.
Well, good luck to you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Steve.
for your service.
It's been a pleasure coming on your show. I'll miss meeting with you. And
Well, maybe you'll be the chair.
I hope,
Maybe you'll be out.
I hope whoever
who
the next
knows?
chair is decides that this is a good thing to do, because I think it's a great thing to do.
Well,
actually.
we'll see how it works.
Yeah.
So, well, there you have it. Chat with the chair, Mark Paolillo. For our Crackerjack producer, Joanna Zuvlis and Matt Simonelli back in the back room, and all the cameramen and crew, I'm Steve Rosales. Until next time, take care.